Good evening, everyone. Welcome to fourth live session for the course Functional and Conceptual Design from IIT Madras. My name is Neelarnab Dutta, and I am a PhD scholar and a PMRF fellow from Department of Design, IIT Guwahati. Uh, so the agenda for this class is to clarify your doubts related to week 4 lectures. So have you gone through week 4 lecture videos?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, because the deadline for submitting week 4 assignment is tomorrow, 24th August, and please solve those assignments and submit it timely. And since the nature of the assignments are objectives, so this session will be a bit conceptual. So I'll help you in understanding the core concepts that are necessary to solve those assignments. Okay. So are you there in the last class?
Sir, last class I was absent, sir.
Okay. Okay, let me give a brief about what we learned in the last class. So we learned about scoping of product development. So we discussed like how a designer determine what to develop. So basically, a designer can come up with a original product or a adaptive product or a variant product. Okay, so those are three types of product we discussed in our first lecture. So this in the scoping phase, we actually determine what to develop, and this is all based on something known as S curve, which is basically a sigmoid function for defining the technology. So basically, a technological development is represented by a S curve, which represent that over time a particular technology grow initially very slowly, and then when the technology get matured, it lead a peak, and then again it decline over time. So for a designer, while choosing a particular technology for product development, he need to choose between various such technologies. Okay, so a particular technology can be in this particular hype phase. Similarly, a technology can be in the initial phase. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, you can choose, like for example, this is year 2022. You can choose actually which particular technology to choose between these two particular technologies. For example, this can be like a like a earlier light bulb, incandescent light bulb, and this can be LED bulb. So if you are designing a headlight, so if you are designing a bike headlight, so and want to choose some sort of bulb inside, so you can decide whether to go with a previous generation incandescent light bulb or halogen light bulb, or you want to go with a LED bulb. And that's for determining that you use this particular S curve, which define technology forecasting. In the last class also we discussed about technical questioning and mission statement, which is basically you are questioning uh, for various requirements, okay, for particular product, and then you arrive at a mission statement, which basically defines the overall agenda for your product. So it defines the overall agenda for your product. So mission statement. Okay. Then we discussed about reverse engineering and redesign method. So as we told previously, that reverse engineering is helpful when you want to understand a complex technology. Okay, it will help in understanding complex technology. It can also solve issues with products previous products. And also you can do reverse engineering to understand competitive products value proposition. So there are a lot of competitive products and you want to know what value proposition they provide. So basically competitive products value proposition. So all you do in reverse engineering and then you do redesign to come up with something a new product. Okay, so this is one method how you can do product design. Okay, so this was discussed in our last class. So for week one lectures we need to understand few follow-on concepts. One is customer satisfaction. uh, so do you know what is Kano diagram? You can use the message box to reply to my questions or you can use the mic. Okay, so what are different types of product design problems? Any answer? See, previously we talked about two different types of design, right? One was analytical and another was synthetic. Okay, so what is analytical? Saravanan, have you attended the first class? Okay, so basically analytical problem solving means analytical types of design means you are the design is you know emerged or developed based on customer requirements. Okay, so basically you are trying to solve customer problems or needs. Okay, the synthetic approach is basically technology driven, so you are actually trying to solve technologist problem or need. For example, in synthetic design, you come up with a new flexible display design. Now you want to use this technology in your smartphone, like how Samsung did in their new flexible display smartphones. So this is a synthetic approach. Okay, the other way of designing product is analytical, which is based on customer requirements and customer problems. So basically there are two types of product design problems. One is customer based problems, another is technologist problem. Okay, but the question comes here, how you achieve customer satisfaction. Okay, so how to, any answer, how to satisfy customers? Okay, so customer satisfaction happens when you meet customers expectation. Okay, now you need to understand one thing, like it is the user experience you try to provide through your product design that determines how much the customer gets satisfied. Okay, so there's a relationship between the experience you provide through your product to the customer satisfaction that you may create or you may realize. Okay, so what is user experience? You may heard about this term UX design. Okay, so now these days these are like some of the emerging field of design, user experience design or UX design. So do you know what is user experience? Just speak up, Kartik.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you know what is user experience design? So user experience design basically comprise of three phases. Okay, one, the experience a user, you know, get before buying a product. So before buying a product. Okay, so experience before buying a product, then experience while using a product, and experience after disposal of the product. So together these determines how much customer satisfaction you can achieve. Okay, so to relate customer satisfaction versus product features or the need their particular product satisfies, there is something called Kano diagram. Okay, so this particular diagram represent a Kano diagram, which determines that the x-axis is basically define the need fulfillment. That means in the extreme left side you have no functions, so functions are absent, and then in the extreme right we have fully implemented functions. Basically it satisfies all the customer needs. On the y-axis we have a disgusting experience. Okay, and on the top we have a extremely delighted experience. Okay, so do you know, so you can see there are three curves here. One is a blue curve, one is a black curve, which is represented by the black question mark, and one is this orange. Okay, do you know what these three curves represent?
No, sir.
Okay, okay, so these three curves, the blue one, the black one, and the orange curves represent the behavior of customer satisfaction related to certain product types. Okay, what this blue line represent is something called delighted performance curve. Okay, so this is called delighted performance curve. That means even though a product does not have all the features, okay, still there is no bad you know experience, there is no bad customer satisfaction. Okay, so customer satisfaction is neutral even though the product does not have any sort of features. However, as particular product have more features, your customer satisfaction increases, okay, exponentially. The black curve represent a basic performance curve, which is basically the idealistic scenario. That means Whenever a product does not have features, no, you have a disgusting experience. There's a bad experience. So basically, a product, it falls here. No features, less features means it is a bad experience, bad customer satisfactions. So as you increase the product features, functions, the customer satisfaction increases. And when there is a maximum, product features, fully implemented functions, then the customer will have a delighted experience. So this is what is represented by this black curve. But there are certain product categories which actually represent this blue line only. Okay. Okay. Similarly, there are products which behave something like this orange curve. Okay. So that means when there are no feature, and if there are the particular product does not satisfy any of the customer requirements, there is a bad experience, disgusting experience. But even if you give all particular functionalities or satisfy all the needs, still you do not get a delighted experience, still you are neutral. Okay, so these are certain product categories. So these three functions, three curves represent basically the behavior, the customer satisfaction behavior with respect to product function or product need satisfaction. Himanshu, please switch off your mic. Okay, thank you. Okay. So any doubt here? So this is what is
No,
called Kano diagram. Yeah. Any doubt?
Not from my side.
Okay. So let's test it. Okay, so can you map these products against the Kano diagram? So this is what I explained. This is the Kano diagram. Where do you think a bike, a classic 350, this is classic 350, not 350, bullet, this is a bullet, Royal Enfield bullet. Okay, so where do you think, so it fall, like which curve? Any answer?
I guess the blue curve.
Against the,
Blue curve, delighted performance curve.
okay, so why do you think? Can you please explain?
So basically, the basic condition is the bike produces gives like they're traveling, and like the durability of the parts. I think that so it will stand with all of those things.
Okay, okay. So let me explain here.
Okay.
So, uh, so these sort of products, which are classic in nature, there is some sort of pride of acquiring such a bike in your in your like portfolio of bikes. Okay, if you have a lot of bikes, then it's like really something unique, prestigious, to collectibles. This comes under collectibles. So to keep such antique bikes in your uh, garage. Okay, so although these bikes does not meet the modern standards of functions, although a lot of features and functions and are missing, and it does not satisfy the current requirement, still there is no negative experience. Okay, that means the bike does not, in terms of customer satisfaction, the it starts from a neutral level. Okay, that means there is no disgusting experience, there is no sort of unhappiness without having any sort of functions. So just by acquiring the product, the customer feels satisfied. That means it's like a neutral state. And as we increase the product features, and there is some sort of satisfaction, and you will really get delighted when such particular product achieve a functionality compared to some other modern standard products. Okay, for example, this RE bike, if you can compare with something like a KTM bike, that means in terms of functionality, that means you will be delighted. However, you will not feel bad if it does not have certain features. Okay, so can you classify a underwear, such a product, which particular curve it will follow?
Expected performance.
Yeah, sorry.
uh, Sorry, I did not get you, Himangsu.
I guess Karthik saying something. Karthik, please continue.
Pardon, can you be little loud?
I guess Karthik is saying something, so I'm just sorry for that. Yeah, please continue, Karthik.
Oh, okay, okay. And Karthik?
Expected performance curve, sir.
Karthik?
Black ones. Expected performance curve.
Okay. Actually, it's not the black one, because why, I'll tell you first. First, I will tell you that this actually represent the orange curve. Why? Because this comes under something of your daily use products. Okay. There is no delighted experience, when your a product like this, have lot of features, or it actually satisfy you. There is no delighted features, because you are used to such products, so there is no new experience you get to get delighted. Okay, it's like, you have you eat rice every day. Okay, you get you get the best quality of rice, and you have your poor quality of rice. So this is a poor quality of rice, but even if you get your best quality of rice, it's actually brings to experience which is something not bad or not good. You'll not get delighted, because this is something of, so it's like kind of product which you often use in your daily life, and you'll always forget the experience you get. So these kind of products actually follow this particular orange curve. Okay, which is disgusted performance curve. Okay. Similarly, camera. Let's think about this. See, a camera. If a camera does not have good feature, definitely user will not like it. Okay. But as you move towards, DSLRs, SLRs, and then you can go to very high-end cameras, you will see there is always a increase in customer satisfaction because of the improved quality of images, okay, and because this is the driving force what makes someone to buy a particular camera. So that's why the need always increases as you provide more functionalities, and the customer satisfaction also get increases, and this particular kind of devices, actually products, actually follow a very, straight, slopey line. Okay, so this is called expected performance curve. Okay, similarly, a printer cartridge. So even if you have, a very very good lot of features, you include lot of features in the print cartridge, it will not give you delighted experience. So this particular product will follow something like this orange curve, which is disgusted performance curve. That means if the cartridge is bad, if it is printing poorly, you will have a bad experience. But if it is printing very good quality pictures, you will not get delighted, but you will be neutral. So that is what was expected from such a device, such a product. Okay, so that's what these three curves represented in a Kano diagram, and this is very important to understand. Like when you are designing certain product, you need to determine how to impact customer satisfaction and what kind of product, what particular kind of needs satisfy, how it satisfy the customer expectations and experience. Okay, any question?
No.
Okay, so have you gone through week 4 lecture videos, Himangsu?
I guess the few one are remaining for me.
Okay, so tomorrow is the deadline for the assignments, 24th August. So I will try to clear some of the concepts that you will be requiring to solve the assignments. Okay,
That will be great.
so basically there are 5 categories of customer needs. Okay, have you gone through these kind of requirements? Can you identify the kind of needs from these products? What do you think are the direct needs for a two-wheeler?
I guess the transportation,
Okay, anything else?
comfort, comfort to traveling,
Comfort to travel.
time.
Well, time, when you design a product, time is not something that you design for. You design probably for a engine power, probably, or RPM, more speed. Time
Mhm.
depends upon the distance. Okay, so if distance is long, so you will take more time. If it is short distance, so basically you will look for speed probably.
Yeah, speed.
Okay, so speed. Okay, so you are saying like, if as a designer you want to come up with a new two-wheeler, which is a two-wheeler means it's a mode of transportation, and you
Mhm.
want to, one of your need is like to have a high-speed mobility vehicle, and also a ride should be comfortable. Okay, so what do you think are the latent needs? And first define what are direct needs and what are latent needs.
Okay, I don't have an idea right now. So if
Okay,
you don't.
so let me explain. Direct needs are basically the key unmet needs from the user. Okay, from the user expectation. Okay, this is end user. Always remember this. Okay, and also it can be other stakeholders. Okay, so these are key unmet needs which are easy to identify when you look at the problem. Okay, so these are direct needs, easy to recognize these needs, and these are the key driving force which actually drive the whole project. Now what are latent needs? Latent needs are the needs which you come across when you try to implement your design, or when you try to satisfy a system for operating this particular product. For example, if you see there's a bike and you want to use it for Indian roads. Okay, so for that what you need to do is like you need to now think like where actually your solution will going to be used and how it will be used. You need to think about all sort of activities. So Indian roads, so what are the different types of roads? Okay, you see there are mountainous roads, there are like cities, highways. Okay, city roads, highways. Okay, then you have muddy roads. Okay, so when you understand this sort of applications that where if you want to bring your product, okay, your bike actually needs to go through this particular ecosystem. That means now you need to have some sort of ancillary requirements, the needs. That means that can be like, like sturdy design. Okay, it should be, it can be like, uh, like good shock absorption. Okay, so these kind of needs actually called as indirect needs or latent needs. Okay, other sort of latent needs can be like, what are different stakeholders in a bike design. So there are manufacturers, okay, there are distributors, okay, and there are like retail, like the service guys. Now what they do, the service guy service, okay, distributors easy to transport, okay, so easy to service. So these sort of requirements are latent requirements, latent needs. Manufacturer, that means design for manufacturing. So these sort of needs comes under latent needs. Okay, so do you know constant needs? What are constant needs, variable needs, and needs?
No.
Okay, so there is a difference between these three kind of needs and these three needs. These two needs, sorry, the first two needs. So these are mostly dependent upon, your observation. Okay, the way you observe a particular use case scenario, or the way you identify a problem, all depends upon your observation. Okay, okay, so if you do some sort of survey interview and the customers, they tell you that okay, this is a requirement, or if you observe particular problem, then you come up with direct needs. Okay, latent needs also comes with critical analysis as well as observation. However, these are mostly dependent upon technology. Okay, the other three types of needs are mainly dependent upon variation in customer requirement. So that means there are some sort of constant requirement. So constant requirements are like, comfort. Okay, so bikes should be comfortable. Okay, everyone, like all the customers want this. Okay, if it is a classic bike, so it should look classic. Okay, then it should be, this kind of naked looking. So these are like constant needs for a classic bike. What are variable needs? So variable needs can be, someone may like a 350cc engine, someone may go for 600cc engine, someone need a handlebar, a high raise handlebar, someone needs a, more like a racing sort of handlebar. So all these are variation among the customer requirements, so these are called variable needs. The other sort of needs like niche needs, and these are very specific needs, like, very few, extremely rarely someone require those sort of needs. Like if you say some person want, someone is physically handicapped and he wants some sort of extra, uh, extra accessory, for to help him, riding the particular bike. Now, similarly, use of sari guard is need. Someone may require a, Bluetooth feature to sync their app. So these are needs. Okay. Any doubt?
Yeah, I just have a question. Like, why? What is the difference between actually constant need and the direct need, basically? Because it seems like similar. for some instance, right?
Okay,
Because comfort is a direct need for a user, right? Why we can classify it as a constant rather than the direct need?
so constant needs means when you are designing something, you can fix those features. Okay, so if you are designing a bike, you say the 100% customers require these features. For example, if you say constant need is comfort, that means you can fix your cushion. If you say there is again comfort, then you can fix your shock absorber. Okay, similarly, there can be variations. Okay, so if you are launching your product for someone living in a European nation and someone living in, like a plain region like India, so there are some sort of differences which is required to satisfy, because there's a difference in customer requirement. Same bike, but now you need to have two variation of the bike with those, feature variation. So these sort of needs are actually cost sensitive. That means the manufacturer needs to bear more cost to actually come up with two version or three version of the same bike having multiple features, because now components are increasing. Okay, and now you need to think about different production line for all these three variations. So that's why as a designer we need to identify what all are variable needs and what all are constant needs. Am I clear?
Yeah, most of things are clear for me.
Okay. Okay, any doubt, any, do you need any more clarification?
No, that's fine for me.
Okay. Okay, so now the questions come: if a designer want to design a new two-wheeler, so how designer will identify the direct needs? So the questions come how. So basically there are different kind of methods. Okay, so do you know? So
The user
broadly,
interview,
pardon.
like you're asking for the method, various methods by how we can find the needs for the direct, right? So we can do the research, something like that.
Okay, so basically there are two kind of research. One is primary research, one is secondary research. A primary research is mainly based on observation. Okay, observation and interview questions. Okay, secondary research based on past research. Okay, okay. So many of the times whenever you want to go for new product development, you go with primary research techniques. Okay, which involve observation. You do field visit, you then try to understand the problems with the other products or competitive products, then you want to identify the needs, the customer requirements. Those are primary research technique. Similarly, you can conduct interviews with customers or manufacturers, then try to understand what customer demand or what user required, where they face problem. Similarly, questionnaires or surveys can be used. So these are all primary source of or primary technique of collecting uh, user requirements. The secondary requirements generally we use when we design something incremental in nature. So we already have the past informations documented, well documented in the internet, or there are other sources, and then we study those and then come up with a solution which is a next version of the solution, like a modified or adapted design from a previous design. So one of the very important technique which is called like dislike method is quite popular in identifying direct needs. Okay. uh, so where actually you meet customers, you meet users, and you ask them four type of questions. Okay, The first type of question is about typical use of the product. Okay. The second type is what the customer like about the product. A third question types are like what are dislikes. So that's why it's called like dislike method. Fourth is what no sort of improvement customer wants. So these four types of questions comprised of your like dislike method of interview. So these are type of questions. You can have multiple questions on this particular question type. Okay, so can you ask or tell me certain examples, like how can you ask, like what do you think should be a typical answer when I ask about the typical use of this particular product? What do you think customer response will be?
So we have to provide the customer's perspective or the questions that we need to ask.
No, you need to provide customer responses. So just behave you as a customer, and I am asking you the questions. Okay. So I'm a designer, for example, and I want to design a new two-wheeler, and you are someone who is using a two-wheeler, and now I want to benchmark your bike. Okay. So you take consider your bike if you have, and then I'm asking you this question. So what do you think is the typical use of your product?
Okay, so basically I have a bike, right? So I will typically use it for the traveling from Delhi to Gurgaon on the daily basis. So it's around 1.5 hour journey. So yeah, I typically use it for the journey.
Okay, so basically it's a driving for your office or some other
Yeah,
purpose.
office.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you like about your bike?
Um, Basically, it's a good mileage. We can say that it's a technical feature, and it's a we can say the seat is good to be good to for a long journey, for around 1.5 and 2 hours journey.
Okay, so you said one is good mileage. Anything else you said?
The seat, the area of the seat.
Okay, seat is comfortable. You said. Okay. And what do you think is what do you dislike about your bike?
For the long journey, we have to stay the legs in air, basically due to the shifting of gear and the brakes. It's sometimes issue for me
So
because
long
the
journey.
support for legs is not provided over there.
So no support, no leg support, right?
Yeah, true.
No leg support. Okay. And what do you think? You want me to improve in a new two wheeler?
I can say that for providing the leg support over there.
Okay. ठीक है. Okay. See, this is how you actually do a interview when you actually do the contextual inquiry for your need identification. You do this for like more than 1,000 customers. So you are one of the customer. Okay. Imagine from your response, I have interpreted certain needs. Okay. The first need is long drive capability, right?
Right.
Second need from your like is good mileage and comfortable seat. All these are needs, right? Then you complain about certain issues that no leg support. That means need is providing leg support. And again, when you said something improve, you say the same thing. So again, leg support, which is again leg support. So likewise, you got, how many, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is all common. So 5 needs from one particular customer. So imagine when you do for 1,000, you will get 5,000 needs. Of course, there may be overlap. Okay, there may be similarities, there may be dissimilarities, but there are, I'm not saying about uniqueness, but in a group you have 5,000 different need statement. Then what you do is, like, individual level, you rank those, like which one is most important for you. Can you rank those? Because this all needs to be derived from the customer only.
Yeah, yeah. So the current ranking is fine for me right now.
Which one?
And the current ranking, like the first is a long drive, it's true. The comfort will be there,
Okay,
and mileage will be good because it's economical.
so mileage, you want to say two, or which one is two?
Yeah, first is comfort and second is mileage.
Okay, three. Okay, and leg support is probably four. Okay.
Yeah, true.
So this is how actually you conduct this particular, interview. You do dislike this and like and dislike method to gather such kind of information, and you gather it for large amount of number of customers, and you get a lot of a pool of needs that may have certain overlaps, but you at the end have a 5,000 needs out of 1,000. So, and these, since these are straight observations, okay, these are like primary source of information, that's why you get what we call as direct need. This is what directly a user require a particular product to fulfill. That's why it's called direct need. Okay, any doubt here?
Not from my side.
Okay, so next is how to identify the latent needs. So what do you think are the latent needs?
For the latent need, I guess the needs that are dependent on the direct need basically. Like we
um,
say, when we say we have to define the bike for a long route, right? So we have to define, also defines the kinds of routes that we have that the bike may be going to.
okay, so those are one, like, so latent needs actually, also there are two things. One are indirect needs, and one are others are latent needs. Although they mean the same thing, but there's a little difference. Indirect needs are what are actually, you have something like a parent need, and then you have something like a child need. Okay, so this is like indirect need. For example, what you have said, and like you have a bike, but since the bike have to travel in a rough terrain, now you need wheels which actually require certain pattern. Okay, a certain rugged pattern. Okay, these are actually derived from the initial parent need, which is like to drive. Okay, to drive, or to to go for long ride. And then we discussed that, okay, there are different terrains, so for this particular terrain we need rugged. So these are something called indirect needs. Latent needs are something more like a ancillary needs, which are like systemic requirements, okay, which are basically systemic requirements Like for example, you may ask the question, who are the stakeholders? Okay, so stakeholders are manufacturers, you have distributors, then you have service providers, and then you have the users. So Iman, now you need to map all the activities in the product life cycle. Okay, so what you do next is you want to understand the product life cycle in every phase with these stakeholders. So what manufacturers do? Manufacturers, build the bike in parts. Okay, these are parts, and it assemble. Okay, so in the assembly process there are mechanized or probably there are people involved. Next, these assembled bikes come in a lot. Okay, that means there are more, like several, like 25 bikes needs to move to a distributor. Okay, so what happens here, that there are requirement of specific transportation, packaging. Okay, so that there is no such damage, and the bikes should be designed in such a way, it's that those are easy to stack. Okay, so if you have a container, okay, big container, then how to stack, you know, multiple bikes, like a particular container, if 25 bikes you want to move, so you need to know what should be the breadth of each bike. So these are certain requirements which actually comes from uh, how you can actually distribute this particular product from the manufacturer. Similarly, when you are assembling, you need to know detail about how to design each particular parts so that one fits to the other in a seamless manner, and at the end you have the bike. Okay, so this is again, you need to design, this is like a requirement of design engineering, also called DFM, design for manufacturing, where actually you make parts and you just analyze like how these things can be used in an assembly line. Okay, similarly in the service provider, the requirement can be how easy it to be serviced. So if you might have seen, like when you go to a car service or bike service center, they know exactly the tools, they know exactly how to remove particular parts. It's because they are trained in that way. So that means the requirements come here, the other tools or the training. Okay, all these actually comes under ancillary requirements. Similarly, when the products comes to the user, there is also a product life cycle, how with various activities, how a user use a particular product. So what, how a user use a particular product. So user use key to start, or user use a kick to start this vehicle. So this is the initial phase. Then how the user will write. Okay, so he will, if it is a female, how they will access the seat. Okay, so this is again a from the understanding, like how the user will use this particular product. Okay, then depending upon user height, where should be the side mirrors. So all these requirements or needs, we realized or we critically analyzed from the overall ecosystem of product uses. This is the overall ecosystem of product uses, comes under ancillary needs, and this is how we did it. Actually, what we do here is what we call this activity diagram. Okay, so this activity diagram, we analyze, we map various activities at every phase. At the manufacturing phase, we map activities, then we move it to distributor. At the distributor phase, we map activities. We try to understand how what particular task leads to what sort of problems, and then we bring those requirements into product developments. Similarly, while servicing, what sort of problems may occur. Okay, so then design accordingly so that it is easy to maintain or easy to service. Similarly, for user, there are a lot of use case scenario which a particular designer can analyze and then come up with different solution. For example, if you may have nowadays scooties with a large uh, rear wheel. Okay, large rear wheel and a small front wheel, and these are mainly used for long rides. Okay, because this many of the customers saw this particular requirement that scooty should be also able to use for long drive. Similarly, this particular space is used for for grocery shopping, everything like that. So these kind of requirements come from uh, analyzing the user activities. Okay? So these all come under latent needs. Although these are not initially planned or comes from the customer, but when you actually later analyze various activities, you realize these particular needs, and those also you need to consider in your final design. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now next question is, we have now different needs. We have direct needs, latent need, constant needs, variable needs. Okay. Now how the designer will sort and select these particular needs for their final product. Okay. So I already told you, like, if a one particular custom like that, what is that called? Like dislike method. One so like dislike interview results in your like 5 needs. You can have 1,000 such contextual inquiry, and you can have 5,000 needs. Now next thing is, like, how do you realize the unique set of needs that actually you need to fulfill at the end? So how we do that? So we do it by two method. Like, one is affinity diagram and need ranking. The need ranking is similar to the previous thing, like every particular customer provides certain need. Okay, so similar to that. So first let me go through affinity. What is affinity diagram? So basically what we do here, we categorize several interpreted needs. In by interpreted needs means those, as a designer, you interpret from customer information, primary records. Okay, so those are interpreted needs. So this is from customer 1, this is from customer 2, this is from customer 1, likewise. Okay, and multiple of these you realize that fall under one particular need. So you do this by the process of affinity mapping. So what we do here is, like, we have this pool of 5,000 needs, and one by one you map them those. Like, initially if you have 5,000 needs, like 1 2 3, like 5,000. So you start from one, and you first put it in a board. You can use uh, postage stamp. Okay, or you can use your writing boards also. Then the next need statement, need required need, you can see whether it links to the previous need. If it is not, you keep it separately. If again you see a third need, if you think it is separate, then you keep it separately. Slowly you may came across several needs which actually tell you the same sort of need. For example, J 35, 36, this is 40. So this is, so what you are actually doing here, you are actually trying to categorize the this broad set of 5000 uncategorized needs into certain categories, and this particular process is called affinity mapping. And affinity, and this particular diagram is called affinity diagram. And this, and later you need to give or come up with a consolidated need statement, consolidate need for the pool of needs. Okay, for example, if you say a need for good cushion, okay, this is one need. Another need can be need for good shock absorbs. Okay, so you can bring such kind of needs, okay, and affinitize them against one particular consolidated need, which is riding comfort or comfort in riding. Okay, so likewise, you try to categorize the initial set of needs that you derive from your primary contextual inquiry, and then you do a affinity mapping and come up with this sort of consolidated needs. Okay, and later what you do, you come up with a list of consolidated needs. Now these are CN consolidated needs, and again you try to map rank those. So you said this is priority 2, this is priority 1, this is priority 3, this is 5. Likewise, you rank those, and then you start working on your design or concept phase. Okay. So this is what affinity diagram and need ranking. Any doubt here?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. So next is how to use these needs for product design. Okay. So because ultimately the needs you actually come across, you will see that mostly those are subjective in nature, subjective, and they are qualitative. Also, they are qualitative in nature. For example, no, someone may say like easy to balance, comfortable to ride, and need macho feeling, long ride capability. But using those needs, you cannot actually design directly. You need to do something so that you know these particular need statement can be used for design of your product. So what you do here, so what we do is we come up with product specifications. So what is product specification is basically is to convert a particular need into a metric and a value. By metric I mean a scale, and value means your numerical value. Now you come up with a engineering parameters which actually can be worked on for your design. For example, easy to balance. So how will you bring, or how will you convert easy to balance into product specifications? Please try. What sort of product specification you will come across when someone says like I want the bike to be easy to balance? Any idea? Himangsu?
I guess the diameter of the, sorry, the width of the wheel can be used to.
Okay. Yeah, so you are right. So there can be multiple features which actually need to address. For example, the CG should be lowered. Okay. Now, so CG should be layered can be told like this because this is again qualitative. You need to say the CG less than 50 or something like 150 centimeter or equal to. That means center of mass or center of gravity of the whole bike should lie at 150 centimeter from the ground. That means now you are going to balance. When a rider sits on particular bike, the center of his weight is around 80 to 100. The center of mass or center of gravity actually lies at a height of 150 from the ground. Now you arrive at a scale which is distance. That means metric is distance and value is 150. Now this is easy to work on. Now you can work on various parameters like weight or the distribution of the form of the bike, the shape of the bike, the distribution of masses of different components to arrive at this particular value. Similarly, to for easy of balance, probably the wheelbase can be smaller, okay, so that you can have a smaller turning radius. Now I cannot say smaller. Now, the goal is to have a smaller turning radius, but how small? So you said wheelbase less than equal to something like 400 centimeter. So this is the specifications. So in specification, basically we come up with a scale as well as a value to define a particular qualitative customer need. Okay, so let's try the others. Comfortable to ride. What do you think?
The area of the seat, I guess.
Which one? Pardon?
The area of the seat.
Yes. So you can say like the shape or the area. So width should be like 30. Okay, and the curvature of the seat. Okay, you can say this is like that much angle. Okay, 30-degree angle. You can say that this length of the seat, the height of the seat, the breadth of the seat. So all these measures define the comfortable ride. Similarly, comfortable can be also at the shock absorber level. Okay, you have a front shock, you have a spring. Okay, so what should be the tensile parameter strength for this particular spring? Like I know the unit, it should be in like Newton meter force. So you may have to arrive at certain value. Okay, so probably I don't know exactly. Like for example, 30 Newton meter force is required to get a comfort in a hilly area. Okay, so this is again how you are converting your needs to quantitative measures. Then need macho feeling. Okay, now this is very important for someone owning a classic bike. So what do you think is the specification?
I guess for this, basically we have the positioning of handle, I guess, because the straight the handle, it gives the feeling of expand the hands and gives the feeling of the macho, I guess.
Yeah, okay, so that is one. So positioning of handling position of handle, that means handle inclination. Okay,
Yeah.
inclination 30-degree, or the width of handlebars, maybe 50 of 150 centimeter, like that. It can be also like sound, the sound, the thumb sound. So you can say that the dB like 90 dB thumb sound, exhaust sound, and it
Yeah.
is like pulsating, like the time between each pulse, 1 millisecond between two thumb. So those are the ways how actually you try to come up with product specifics. Similarly, long ride capability also, probably try to define luggage carriage. Okay, luggage carriage. So carriage means, do you have saddlebags? So if saddlebags, like where, like do you have separate size of the saddlebags? So all those, you define as a product specification to convert the qualitative customer requirements or needs to something quantitative. Okay. Okay, so let's see one case study. So this is the last slide. So these are the important concepts that were covered in week 4. Okay, and if you not gone through the lectures, please go through those lectures. And I have covered most of the topics, and this will essentially help you in solving your assignments. Okay, so the final slide for today's presentation is a case study, which is basically designed by me back in 2014, and it was a employee health and safety wearable for Tata Steel workers. Okay, so this was a wearable watch which used to have various sensors. You used to have pedometer, you have temperature monitoring, you have fall sensors, you have UV sensors, then radiation and smoke sensors. So there are various sensors used, and the problem what was given to us was that the workers who actually work in a steel industry, they have to work in a very hazardous environment. Like it is like you have iron ores, and there are a lot of smokes and hazardous fumes that comes in the environment. And also the workers have to work in high rise lifts, and there are often occurrence of accidents which leads to fatality. Okay, so there are a lot of incidents, several incidents happen working in the steel industry. And because the environment is so noisy, there are a lot of noise and lot of it's polluted, so it is very difficult to detect if someone actually fall sick, or if he made certain accident in that particular environment. Okay, so to come up with a solution to address that particular issue, we are given the task of designing something that actually help you mitigating those scenarios. So then this example I'm giving you to understand, like make you understand like what are the direct needs we actually have came across, and what sort of latent needs we actually realized when actually we tried to develop the product. Okay, so the very important and the basic need that we understood is what we call the unmet need, is to facilitate a ecosystem that can take care of employees health and safety. Okay, so the set of direct needs which actually we gathered from customer interviews. So we interviewed as workers there, we consulted the managers, uh, the ground duty managers, the workers who works in the high rise lifts, and we also talked to uh, the key officials, the high rank officers from Tata Steel, to understand and to observe the direct needs. So these are the set of direct needs that we came across. So one is health and safety monitoring. So whatever solution will come, it should actually do this health and safety monitoring. There should be some way of emergency addressing or SOS. Okay. The same tool also should be able to use for your ID tagging, so that whenever certain accidents happen or certain emergency required, the control room people, they should be able to know who is facing particular issue. So those particular data should be also fed to the control room. It should be have a central monitoring facility. It should be also used as a timepiece. Okay, and it should have a alarm features. So all these requirements actually we gather from direct field visit and observations. When we actually when we are actually involved in the development phase, initial concept development phase, okay, then we try to define the ecosystem, okay, the entire ecosystem for this particular device uses, which means we need to now think about uh, how this particular like if a person is wearing this particular gadget, how this particular gadget will transmit the information to someone sitting a very far away, like almost like 500-meter away, and monitor the information. Okay, and there are multiple of such devices worn by people, which will be worn by people. Okay, this is one challenge. And also, since if this is going to be a wearable solution, there should be some way it should be chargeable inside this facility. However, if you see the facility is something like this, it's like a hot, smoky, high-rise place. You hardly get any facility to charge your device. Okay, so then what we did as a part of the further contextual inquiry was actually trying to understand the user. Okay, we and try to understand their daily routines, how they go from their homes, how they collect their tools, and how they perform their registry attendance, and what sort of gadgets or safety variables they equip with to go for their job, and when they finished with their job, how they submit all the things that have been issued to them. So we created personas. Okay, this is like a persona creation which represent all the employees, all the workers of Tata Steel by only one single persona. We also try to understand what are the various challenges they faced, okay, from their activities. We try to understand their daily routine with their activities. We took pictures from their activity areas and then try to map later how their workflow happens within that hazardous environment. Okay, we also try to gather information on their backgrounds, what are their aspiration as someone from a middle class background, what sort of gadgets or device they want to wear as a part of wearable device. Sorry. Okay, so all those also we try to gather all those informations. So after this contextual inquiry, we come up with certain latent needs which we realized soon after we entered our concept generation phase. Okay. So one was like charging a wearable device in a work environment, because it was very difficult to get a charging point in those high-rise facilities, and how to charge your device. Okay, and the work hours, it was like a 8-hour shift for every worker, so at least 8 hours battery backup this particular device should facilitate, because there are a lot of sensors processing. There's a watch, there are a lot of sensors which are running all the time in real time, and this is a very small device. We cannot accommodate a big smartphone like battery. We have to only use something like a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter battery. So all those decisions we need to think about, like how to make this particular device chargeable in such a hazardous environment. Next is low cost, because this was not provided by the facility or the Tata Steel freely. Like the employees have to use their pocket money to buy this particular gadget. Okay, so we need to also think about like whether they will be able to buy that particular product or not. So we need to also think about making the product low cost. Similarly, like how to collect these workers information at a distance situated like 500-meter away from each worker. Okay, again we cannot make something very elegant and flimsy, because the environment is very harsh. All way it is iron bars, iron rods, steel industry, so there may be chances of breakage, accidental breakage. So we need to make the device also rugged and durable. Okay, and also we need to think about a longer battery life. So these are kind of latent needs that actually we realized once we did further contextual inquiry and mapped you know the activities of the workers in their daily life. Okay, okay, so that's it for today. So through this particular case study I am trying to give you a rough overview, like when you actually try to design a particular product in real life, although you may realize the direct needs very soon, but slowly you will also realize certain latent needs which, if you do not fulfill in your design, will leads to failure of your product. So you need to consider both direct needs and latent needs to finally satisfy and come up with a good product. Okay, okay. So any question?
Sir, I just have a question over there. So, like, I didn't like the case study that you have created in the past 2 years. So, if I want to create this kind of a study for a product that satisfies a need, so do you suggest any problem statement over there or any requirement?
uh, can you just pardon? uh,
So, I like to create a case study like this. So, I just want a problem statement of the requirement here that you suggest me to work on.
oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
So this was a problem of employee health and wearable safety. There are a lot of industries actually. This was like a very niche product for Tata Steel, and this product is currently available in beta version. Okay, there are videos in YouTube also, if you can see, and there are a lot of other industries also, like aerospace, okay, an industry, or a lot of different high risk plants where such kind of devices can be useful. Okay, so you can take some of those cases and actually think of doing a contextual inquiry and go for such development.
Okay, sure. Thanks, sir.
Okay, okay, any further doubt on the course content from today's session?
Not from my side, sir.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you everyone. So that's the end of today's session. uh, so next class will be again next Tuesday, and please go through week 5 lecture sessions from the NPTEL course, conceptual and functional design, and I will clarify your doubts in next Tuesday related to the assignment questions. And if you face any difficulties, please contact me at my mobile number, like 9663452050. And also these videos are uploaded in a YouTube channel. Okay, so if you missed the previous videos, those are recorded and actually it is available online. You can search uh, in YouTube, typing this particular name, functional and conceptual design live sessions. Okay, so you'll get a list of videos there if you want to access previous week's content. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. So I'll leave here. Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good day, sir. Bye.
Thank you.